Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Duval Dive. Of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Folks, I might be under the weather, but nonetheless, it's still a happy new year for everybody out there in the Duval Devout Nation. And no, not just because we're recording this on January 1st of 2026. Champion, happy New Year to you, by the way, as you have your throwback Duval Jacksonville Jaguar full-length sprinting. What's the proper name of that? Sprinting Jaguar? I don't know. Like, that's whatever. That's literally one
the
of
origin, the original
of the logo. Yeah. I look at it on my Mark Brunell jersey. Yes, I have a faded old Mark Brunell jersey, believe it or not. And I see that on there. It's my favorite part of it. But the one thing that's another favorite amongst you Duval Devout out there, first of all, make sure you check out Travis's cap on the Duval Dive YouTube channel. If you're listening to the audio or whatever, because, you know, the hat is cool. But another thing that is the favorite amongst the Duval Devout is hating the Titans. Titan Hate Week Part 2, and another opportunity to sweep another member of the AFC South. Now, here's what I find interesting, Travis, is something we don't normally see out here. But, hey, it's 2025 season. Things are different. Preston in the comments, I'm always down to hear what the DD bros have to say, but I mean, it's just the Titans. Is this really necessary? Well, first of all, any opportunity to make jokes about how Jeffrey Simmons thinks Trevor Lawrence is a single read quarterback, that's always fun for me. So that alone, in my opinion, makes this worthwhile. In the comments, I love the continued going after Jeffrey Simmons here, Robert Lambison. I hope he's ready to deal with LeQuint Allen. so help me piling on in the comments with the same too. You gotta love every single thing about it. And yeah, happy New Year to you as well, Robert. Glad to see you.
Happy New Year. That's what I'm talking about.
But
we see a lot of people.
I mean, considering the Jags have recently swept the Colts, it's now a lot more fun to say playoffs. But I know here at most, first and foremost, before we get into any preview stuff, the playoff conversation is what's to be had. This is still important there, Duval Devout, as to whether or not the game goes through Jacksonville, because as recently as 2 seasons ago, the Titans kept the Jags out of the playoffs. The year before that, before they were able to turn the tables on San Diego, they first then had to beat also quarterbacked by Dobbs, by the way, a Tennessee Titans team. That was a very close game, and I believe both of us were in attendance for that one. Travis.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, man, you can't take this team for granted, and we're gonna get into it in a little bit. But obviously, to your point, 2023 wasn't that long ago, and that was a Week 18 game where the Tennessee Titans beat the Jacksonville Jaguars 28-20 to give the division title to the Houston Texans. Again, that wasn't very long. I know this ain't Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill ain't walking on that field on Sunday. I get it. but I'm just saying, you can't sleepwalk through a game and just assume that win's going to come. You can't have 2 turnovers like Trevor Lawrence did in that game. And you just can't leave the door open hoping that these strange things ain't gonna happen, because it's an NFL game, it's a divisional game, and they don't like each other. So yeah, man. But you already put the graphic up. Jaguars, they have a few different postseason scenarios, but we kind of know what this is going to be. Like, just being honest about it. Like, I think everybody's kind of already seen the different things on the socials, the different articles that's been out there. If the Jaguars win, the Broncos lose, and the Patriots lose, the Jaguars get the number 1 seed. That feels highly unlikely to happen. We'll get into that why in a second. Jaguars win, Broncos or Patriots lose, the Jaguars get the number 2 seed. That's a little more likely. At least it's possible to happen at that point. But the more likely scenarios, obviously, the Jaguars hope, fingers crossed, Jaguars win. Broncos and Patriots win, and the Jacksonville Jaguars land on this bad boy with the number 3 seed. Now, if that were to take place, we got a few things. Obviously, we need to talk about mainly. Well, what's everybody else up to? Like, what are the other teams looking like? Like, you got the Trey Lance-led Chargers facing the Denver Broncos this week.
Yeah, right.
You probably know how that's going to go, right? You got the Patriots with facing the Miami Dolphins backup quarterback. Was it Quinn Ewers?
Quinn Ewers, yeah, very good.
Yeah. And that's like one of the two primary games from my perspective that could impact Jacksonville in the wild card race.
I mean, beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, yeah, but that could impact who Jacksonville plays heavily if Miami were to pull the upset. Like that's the one, and I don't believe it's going to happen, but I'm just saying that's the one. If there is one on this list that you asked me to bet the house on or some other nonsense, yeah, that would probably be the one. You got Riley Leonard for leading the Colts. That they're facing the Houston Texans in the game where Houston's supposed to be double digit. They're expected to win by a lot, basically. I believe it was a 10.5 points when I last looked at the spread there. And then you got the Jaguars in this game. You got the 12.5 point favorites against Tennessee. So that's hopefully likely going to be a win. And if they were to win this week, then they're likely playing either the Buffalo Bills or the Los Angeles Chargers at home. It's either the number 2 seed or the number 3 seed, depending on, assuming all the outcomes go as expected. Basically, that's kind of what we're looking at. I don't know if you have a favorite who you prefer to play between those two. That's kind of where I'm more interested in, like between Buffalo or the Chargers. Do you have a preference? Because
it's definitely
Jaguars seem to have both of their numbers.
Yeah, if you're the Duval devout, you want to see the Chargers because that O-line is decimated in a very special way. And regardless of the various injuries and things that have come up in the defensive secondary there, obviously, Jordan Lewis already on IR, out for the foreseeable future. I think we talked about this last week here on the dive, but while it's not exactly what you want, listen, there's no world where I feel like the corners are so outmatched by the Chargers receivers. This isn't to say the Chargers receivers are bad per se. They got a pretty good unit. I'm not worried about that. But listen, Herbert was shredded because his O-line was worked. I expect to see more of the same because, Slater isn't walking back through that building to protect them at the left tackle spot, and the guards aren't suddenly going to get better without another draft there with we keep saying San Diego, but Los Angeles, right?
Yeah. So, but his O-line is hurt, and they still are hurt. But they did get their running back back, and Marion Hampton. They got him back after the Jaguars last played, and yes, Herbert does like to hold the dang ball, and that's always going to be a problem. He's just honestly both of these quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Herbert, both love to hold the ball and pass up on the easy reads, and we've always talked about this so many weeks. So if you're religious Duval dive listener, you know what I'm about to say. They're the type of quarterback Jacksonville plays well against. So both of them have that same style that works to Anthony Campanelli's benefit. And we didn't even talk about the Bills. The Bills. They play against the Jets this week. And I thought this was funny because the Jets didn't want to take no chances on mistakenly winning this week. So they chose to start Brady Cook over Tyrod Taylor just to complete the tank job. But then the Bills countered with 2 days of Josh Allen not practicing because he has a foot injury that's popped up all of a sudden. So he's not practicing this week. So it looks like they're more likely than not going to sit their starters. So exactly, that's where Robert Lamson just comes in from the top rope. The Bills resting Josh Allen, right? So if Buffalo loses, then they're likely playing in Jacksonville to kick off the postseason. And if they win, they play at New England, which that's an interesting one because the Bills just beat the Patriots by 4 points in New England, like in week 15. So you'd assume they would want that. They want that work. They would want that heat. But
if I remember correctly, the Bills were down 3 touchdowns and came back. So there's that too.
Were they really? I don't remember the game. That's my problem. But maybe whatever the case, they're just not willing to risk having an injured quarterback in the playoffs. So that's the biggest takeaway from that. But that's what PJ Brown's asking. Who do we think we're playing in wild card weekend? Hey man, we jumping ahead. Why we jumping so far ahead? I'm giving you general scenarios, but I didn't want to say who do we think we're playing in the postseason because that's assuming a win. Can we get past? Can we get to the victory this week and talk about that on Wednesday's Duval Dive? I believe if everything works out in the way that it should, more likely than not then the Jacksonville Jaguars will be opening the postseason against the Kansas City, the Chargers. I think Buffalo's probably going to lose if they rest Josh Allen. So then you're in a weird situation where they end up falling to the number 7 seed. And then I just believe that then results in the Bills playing against the Patriots, I believe that's the way it worked out. I had it written down here a second ago. I just kind of went through it. Yeah, if the Bills lose,
the top seed has
no, I'm sorry, I take that back. Yeah, if the Bills lose, they likely play in Jacksonville to kick off the postseason. Right there, there you go. If they win, they play at New England. If all the other games go as expected, so that's kind of what it was going to be. So if the Bills lose when they rest Josh Allen, then that's a whole different conversation. Jacksonville's opening against Josh Allen with potentially an injured foot or not 100% foot. That ain't great for the Bills. But I said this in last week's Duval Dive, or it might have been early this week. Whoever the Jaguars play in the round one, I believe they're going to beat the brakes off.
Yeah.
I've said this very consistently. I only question what they're going to do in the second week because they've been a little bit of up and down. But for the most part, I think they're going to be locked in. So, well, let's get into this thing, man.
And for clarity, Greg Cross in the comments, wait, Jax is not automatically in. No, they're obviously automatically in. We're talking about in terms of the division. But I think Travis's statement holds is whether or not they lose to the Titans and are on the road the first week. I think Travis, and I'll go ahead and ride along with it, they'll still going to win week one. It's just a matter of not whether they're hosting the game, I feel like.
That's basically what it comes down to. I'm simply talking about whether or not they're playing in Jacksonville, because you have the Texans breathing down their neck, and you assume the Texans are going to win against a Riley Leonard-led Indianapolis Coast, right? Like, I'm not crazy enough to put those kind of wild takes into this atmosphere. So that's kind of what I'm leaning into to start things off. But yeah, let's get into this Tennessee Titans game, because the game still exists and we'd be wild to kind of just get past it. So we got our keys to the game, bro. You want to put it out for me?
Oh yeah, the keys to the game. Listen, and we'll roll this out this way. In that, I love your top point. It's simple, it's cogent, it's accurate, and it puts the Jags in the situation where they're not dealing with stuff that Buffalo is or that the Chargers are. Stay healthy, first and foremost, right? This is a game that a lot of us, hell, even in the comments out the gate, you Duval divers are treating this like it's a gimme. Yeah, I like the point you make there first and foremost. Just stay healthy, crew.
That's the first and foremost. That's the number one goal. Like, what if the Jaguars are in the playoffs, and I don't want to act like this is a Super Bowl and they have to win it. They got to win it. Let's be clear. They got to win it. But also, it's about the postseason. It's about what you do in the playoffs, and whether or not the Jaguars open this bad boy as the number 1 seed or the number 7 seed, as Social Alki appropriately puts onto the socials. The Jaguars are in a position where they're guaranteed a spot in the NFL playoffs. It seems highly unlikely that they're going to be able to move up, to that number 1 seed or maybe even the number 2 seed. So for the most part, they're kind of almost locked in at that number 3 seed spot. So this game is purely about hitting the field, handling business, getting an AFC South division title while staying as healthy as possible for whatever the heck comes next. But I don't take this team for granted, because we just talked about the fact that 2023 exists. Like, you can't sleepwalk your way through a game and just expect nothing strange to happen. The referee may make a bad call like the Cincinnati Bengals game, or just some other nonsense, because you just didn't come in locked in and ready to go. So with all that being said, this should have the feel of a college or a high school homecoming in my perspective. Like, they're a week out from being on vacation in Aruba or Tahiti or wherever millionaires like to go these days, right? Like, that's where the Tennessee Titans, players and organization pretty much are at this point. Like, I ain't never had $1 million, but I can tell you right now, that's exactly where their mind is and should be.
Hey, get ready for Dubai. I hear you, buddy.
That's it. So the Jaguars can make things really easy by simply starting off hot in this game. Like, get the party in Everbank Stadium started early, so the fan base can kind of, get y'all libations going, maybe help Shah Khan's bottom line a little bit, helping with the drink sales in the Bud Zone. But most importantly, you can get a sizable lead early. You can sit your starters down. You can protect the franchise. You can kind of get this thing started for the playoffs. Like, that's securing the W without giving the Titans like a reason to kind of continue pushing out more film. Like, am I missing something for the Titans angle? Like, maybe guys fighting from roster bonuses or like monetary bonuses at the end. That's the only thing I can really think of. Like, you start this thing off early, they're gonna clock out, right? Am I missing that?
No, I think you got that pretty much nailed. But there's a couple things. They first of all, they don't like the Jags. I think that's been made clear on both sides, right? And I think there's an element here. You have an image for that shows that the Titans haven't necessarily rolled over per se, right? Like, I get it. Their victory over the Browns after losing to the Jags. Yeah, I forgot it was a 22-point victory by the Jags, but nonetheless, that's I know it's just the Browns, but that gets something going. That Titans Niners game in San Francisco after that was closer than I would like it to be as a member of the faithful, right? Beating the Chiefs is a whole other thing. Granted, also without Patrick Lavon Mahomes II, I understand that. And then, the only other team that's bad that's been on a tear lately that's forgotten you're supposed to lose these games other than the Titans is the New Orleans Saints. They lost to them after that. But there's been a string to where I think the word you use is feisty, and the Titans would want to maintain that. I think this is something where they want the opportunity to make it difficult for the Jags. And I think in the eyes of the Titans fan, the Texans winning the division is a more desirable outcome than the Jags, because apparently all you Duval out there be annoying people with how good you got.
Y'all annoying Richard Sherman. Y'all annoying everybody. It's so funny.
I keep it that way. By the way, make them pay for not putting your guys in the Pro Bowl.
No, you ain't lying though. Like, this isn't a team that's quit on the season as of yet. Like, when you look at their games, they got the 2 wins, they got the 1 score loss. That's 3 of the last 4 games. Their biggest loss was that 12-point loss against the San Francisco 49ers. But overall, they have been trying to at least try to win football games. They're not tanking in the pure sense of the word, at least, like on the field, on the tape. So you're not just showing up and winning the game just because you thought you could or should or whatever. But I guess what I'm really trying to land on is, like, I think everybody in listening to this podcast 100% fully agrees with and understands what I'm talking about right now, though, because when talking about these guys being ready for vacation, like, each of you has a job where you come into work the day before a holiday or a day before a vacation, and you just praying that the clock just moves a little bit faster so you can get this party started, right? Like, that's many of the Tennessee Titans players right now. Like, all they're looking for is that one dude next to them, that one peer, that one NFL player to give them an excuse to clock out early. Like, just that one hit. That one hit, that one additional touchdown to make it a 14-point lose for these dudes to just be like, man, I'm out. This feel like a Monday problem, or like in their case, the 2026 problem. Like,
you're asking for LaQuint Allen to hit a dude so he takes a knee. That's what I hear you saying,
bruh. He's like, I'm too. So I need somebody on the field saying I'm too old for this. Like, that's basically what it comes down to. Like, help them start their vacation dreams early, Duval. Stay healthy, stay hype, and let's kick this Everbank series of parties off in the right way. That's my first point. That's kind of where I'm landing on that bad boy.
Yeah, you come out, you hit them in the mouth early. They want to go home, and then you could start to wind back to achieve that you stay healthy. I think there's something to that 100%. They need to get to that point, because where I sit is they're looking for that last week opportunity to do the one last thing, the final opportunity they have to play football this year. They can do it by hurting a team they don't like, and you got to take them out of that mindset. I think you're right about that.
No, I mean, you have different breeds of different guys. I will acknowledge that part. Also, you got some guys that's out there and they absolutely gonna give it their all, and you got other guys that's trying to run that clock out. Like, well, I'm sorry, we got coworkers. We all know what this is. 80% of these guys, they just average. You got the 20% that's gonna be a little extra, and they're gonna be pop. That's Jeffrey Simmons. You got the top, that top 20%, and then you got them other guys who just like, hey man, what time? Damn, it's only 3:00. Man, ain't even halftime yet. Like, I'm saying. Well, use those guys, build that lead, and end this bad boy.
You got it. But see, here's another part. There's another dramatic part of this analysis that I'm a little surprised you missed, champion. The thing that could hurt the Jacksonville Jaguars the most. The Jacksonville Jaguars. How about you don't get penalties and you have the graphic?
Wait. No. We cannot get into this. We are 2 segments from that. You killing my show content.
You haven't labeled number 3. My bad.
We still ain't talking about Cam Ward yet.
I thought he was.
Yeah, we gotta get up.
He's fine.
Yeah, you got me though. Oh, but stop the run early. That's my second key though. Is obviously stopping the war, because like Cam Ward has been really dang good these last few weeks. Like, he's been throwing. Like, last week he threw for 250 yards with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions against the Saints, and he hasn't thrown an interception in 3 straight games. So on the surface, you could be like, no, man, he's looking pretty good, but I think that's a big part of that is like he can make things difficult on the Jaguars if he doesn't turn the ball over, but he also didn't turn the ball over the first time they played him. So
Right.
I want to just be clear, like he still is for many ways the same guy that the Jacksonville Jaguars played a few weeks ago, and we did this whole prep on to kind of figure out who he is basically. Because like his average time to throw is still ranging from that 2.8 seconds to 4.07 seconds last week against
That's
the Saints.
eternity. That's
Right. We
eternity.
said it was an eternity when you were talking about 3.5 seconds. He was at 4.07 last week. That's an insane number. And he still was sacked 4 times and pressured on another 16 attempts last week. Like that, it was a crazy film because a lot of it was just like, hey man, he's just back there. Ain't nobody open. He got all day. Ain't nobody open. They ain't trying to blitz and they slow playing the blitz or the rush.
And he don't have Parker Washington to just heave it up. He
Yeah,
can't
down there somewhere.
Parker down there somewhere. He don't have that. He don't have that. What's he gonna do? Calvin Ridley? Anyway,
he gone. Yeah, he on IR. So, like in my opinion, he's played better as of late. Like, but that's primarily because, from my perspective, that Tennessee has had more of a balanced game plan over the past 4 games. Like Tony Pollard, he's been getting more carries and kind of keeping Tennessee on schedule. But don't forget that Tennessee in the Jacksonville Jaguars matchup a few weeks back, they abandoned their run game because of the score. Tony Pollard was actually having a good game, and I think folks kind of forgot that. I was having this conversation in one of the Twitter spaces earlier this week. It's like, nah, he was averaging 6 yards a carry on 10 carries in that game, and much of that production came in the first half of the Jaguars game. It was one of those weird ones where the Jaguars were allowing a team to run on them, which I was like, oh, what is this? And also struggling to run the ball, which we will get into later. That's another one of those keys to the game. But with Ward being so comfortable, just like as long as they stay on schedule, and you got a number 1 ranked run defense that's got to act like it, basically. Get a few early stops, help our offense get a small lead, and that will make them abandon that run game just in the same way. And then Jacksonville can kind of be off to the races from there. So that's Devon Hamilton, do your thing. Trevon and Josh Hines Allen, sorry. Do more of your cage rushing like you did in the first time you played against the Titans. And from there, the pressure, there you go. Pressures, man. They're probably going to do that cage rushing thing again, just so folks know. So if the sacks don't come quickly, if they're not 2.5, 3 second sacks, just know that this is another quarterback who extends plays, that you're not going to see the immediate dominance, and that's probably going to be on purpose. Just get the W, right? So they're going to make sure he's not extending plays, and that's kind of my big one is take away the run game. Do not let them get that started again, or that will then allow Cam Ward to have a much better day this week.
I can't put it any better than that. In particular, and you mentioned stopping the run, that being a big deal, keeping Pollard down. And listen, I know Pollard. I know that Pollard isn't Derrick Henry, but he's still a good back. I think he's a guy that can do damage if given the opportunity. I think this is a big Eric Armstead, Devon Hamilton game. All those pieces. I'm not going to full on call them X factors, but you could. But yeah, I set the standard is your next piece, right? And
this is the one you wanted to get to. Now go ahead and talk about your penalties. I think you love talking about these penalties.
The Jags are the one who compete themselves here. And listen, division games are funny. I say this time and time again on the show. But I'll put it this way. The fact that they're at 5 with 12 assessed penalties only at this point since week 11.
Pre-snap.
Thank you. That's a big deal. It wasn't always that way with this team. Like how much further they've come and how much more comfortable they got, I think sits with the point that you made about Liam Cohen and these guys just have to catch up with their offense, which I'll be honest, I acknowledged it was possible. I wasn't believing in it when you were dropping it on me for the first month of the season, and now here the hell we are. So I mentioned
2 out of 2.
Yeah,
he's 2 teams out of 2 to do this. So they did it with Tampa Bay in 2024. They're doing it with the Jacksonville Jaguars now in 2025, and both times they got it right after the bye week. This time it took the wristband for Trevor Lawrence and a lot of movement with the receivers and the offensive line and everything else, and maybe simplifying the offense. But they got it right, man. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, and another aspect, I see Zenith in the comments jumping in. They ran on his last game, which we touched on that. Another part that we didn't hit quite as hard, if it wasn't the kick, if it wasn't the kick return or turnover, over our first after our first score early. It could have been a pain. Yeah. And
That's fair.
that keep coverage factor is not something the Jags can count on. Their special teams is, they have a few players. I love Ray Lane and LaQuinn Allen in the return game. As far as punt protection.
Ray Lane in coverage, one and the other one in the returning, and I got you.
Yeah, well, and I like LaQuinn's ability to hit cats too, not for nothing.
That's fair.
So hold on, LaQuinn Allen
overall,
somebody.
That's it. Yeah, that's kind of what he's made for. That man was built in a lab to hit somebody. Like, I'm shocked he ain't doing charity boxing out here for somebody. Like, that's the next thing coming up on maybe in the offseason. We'll see.
Not yet.
Anyway. But overall, bro, this is a 12-4 football team versus a 3-13 squad. So I'm not going to try to attempt to sell this as something that it's not. It's Jacksonville versus Jacksonville, as you eloquently put it earlier. But Jacksonville can absolutely beat themselves if they don't come to play, especially against a team who has yet to lay down since the Jaguars last saw them. Like, we just went through their last 4 games. Like, they are still trying to play. They haven't quit. So the question then is, and kind of for every week moving forward with playoff football left, like, is Jacksonville, can you play a clean football game continuing to put this all together? Like, can you protect the quarterback? Can we clean up the pre-snap penalties and the drops? Can we simply retain possession of the ball while ending each drive with the kick? Because all those things that I just named are things that recently popped up last week against the Indianapolis Colts as problems. And we hadn't seen this be consistent problems over the last few weeks. And all of a sudden, just that game was a down game in each of those areas against the wrong team on the wrong day that can result in a loss. So this is another day to kind of show you're better than the week before, Duval. Social Alkies.
And yeah, another way that could happen too. Social Alkies lit it up a few times in the comments here. Let's get that NTN and 2 in the game together. So many possibilities and matchup issues. Yeah, Bashaw Tootin being back in the lineup, huge deal. I liked that they pulled him when he did so that he could mend and get right. Now he has a game to warm up before heading into the postseason. Before it just, the Tootin situation, in my opinion, was handled fantastically, and I think that's worth mentioning here.
Oh, absolutely. I think it was. And then talking about getting Tootin going, getting ETN going, that's an interesting one. Because I hate to say what I'm about to say, but it kind of goes against my core philosophy. But it's sort of where I fall right now. Like, I know Mega 2025, make ETN great again is a thing. And I know Travis Etienne and Bashaw Tootin obviously getting this run game going is going to be great for the Jacksonville Jaguars franchise. It's going to be great for this playoff run they're about to go on to. Fingers crossed, knock on wood. But this is a Trevor Lawrence week in my book. Like, when that key to the game that's discussing win where they're weak, that's talking about specifically, that's talking specifically about Liam Cohen, carve him up. Like, from my perspective, it's not my preference. I just truly don't know that Jacksonville is going to be able to run the ball against this Tennessee team. And that's not just based on the 1 week. That's not just based on the time that the Jaguars last played them. But in case you forgot, the last time Jacksonville faced Tennessee, the Jaguars struggled to get anything going on the ground. Travis Etienne had 28 yards for 12 carries. Bashaw Tootin had 17 yards on 8 carries. And that was with the reasonably healthy offensive line. No Jacksonville Jaguars running back averaged even 2.4 yards per carry with 20 rushes.
Yeah.
Like, I think folks are just forgetting that because they won that game so heavily. But that was the one thing that I came away from, like, no, this is it. That ain't going to work.
Well, let's be careful with folks, because Big Diesel in the comments reminds us Simmons and Sweat are not to be taken lightly. And
always coming with the facts.
Yeah, no, Diesel doing good things again, and I can't find the comment there. Oh yeah, Social Alky, another regular with the smart stuff. Jags can move the pocket to negate Simmons and Sweat, and help with Key's pass rush. Outside zones, draws, screens can help as well. And I can't find the comment. I was going to show this one too, but somebody made the point that Sweat and Simmons are a better duo at the defensive tackle spot than Stewart and Franklin for the Colts. Without DeForest Buckner in the rotation, I think that's an accurate statement as well.
Sure.
Yeah. So
I think I would agree with that.
The AFC South is still stout at the defensive tackle, and it's funny. It's a carryover from when this was still a run-first team, except for Jacksonville. They just never shipped all these guys out there too because they're trying to still break down pockets inside to go after pass rushers instead. This is how good they got a defensive tackle in this division. It's very unique. Anyways, sorry.
No. But no, so when social says we should, this was literally the argument that I made earlier this week in one of just again, I talk with Jaguars football all day, all time, all week. So I'm already half of these things I'm talking about right now. I've already talked about with 2 people, 3 people, whatever it is. Since Jacksonville last played Tennessee, the Titans held the Browns starting running back to 1.9 yards a carry on 14 carries. They held CMC to 3.3 yards a carry. They held Isaiah Pacheco to 39 yards. I know he had like 8 carries, so at least that kind of helped it a little bit because they blew them out. And the dam broke last week with the Saints running back running for 94 yards. But again, that's 3 out of 4 games where they were dominant on stopping the opposing team on the ground. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it feels like it could be another tough week for the running game coming off one of their more successful days in over a month. And it didn't feel like a crazy successful game last week for Travis Etienne, but it was better than we've seen as of late. Like, to put it in perspective, the Jaguars have the number 1 rushing defense in the NFL, right? Anthony Campanelli's defense has held opposing running backs to 3.9 yards per carry for comparison. I was just telling my guy Wayne this in Tampa the other day. He was shocked when I said it to him because he had Travis Etienne in fantasy football. And I'm like, dude, last week in Indianapolis was the first time Travis Etienne hit 3.8 or more yards per carry since week 12 against Arizona. Like, it has been a rough 4-game stretch for the run game and the offensive line as teams continue to kind of load the box and run blitz on those early downs. So they found to get a job. They got the job done through the air.
Yeah, you're getting touchdown points off of ET and fantasy-wise, but it sure ain't in yardage. You're right about that.
Right. So it's not the yardage. So I wanted to say that because that guy, Jeffrey Simmons, exists, and he dominated the Jaguars' reasonably healthy offensive line early this season, which we showed you guys on the Do or Die that week. If you don't remember, we got you. Like, that guy, Jeffrey Simmons, just took up 3 dudes on one of the early rushing series, like in whether it's the passing game, whether it was the run game. That was one of the primary reasons the Jacksonville Jaguars struggled at stopping at rushing the ball for much of that game. So in my head, I'm like, dude, we have a week where we could be missing Patrick McCarry for a 2nd straight game. And I'm not 100% sure this team, like they probably want to have a healthy roster going into the playoffs. And if that's truly the case, then you probably don't play Patrick McCarry. There's a 50-50 shot whether or not they play Robert Hainsey this week. And at that point, you're then talking about a team that struggled to run the ball with their starting guys now having to be able to run the ball with their backup guys. So when I say, hey, Liam Cohen, carve him up, that's what I'm saying. Hey, this feels like the Trevor Lawrence sweep because Cohen has pretty religiously found a way to milk production out of less than favorable conditions for a few weeks now, in different ways. He's squeezed more out of the roster than the individual pieces would seem to be able to be capable of giving, right? It just seems like another week where this is not the favorable condition to try to force these dudes to run up the middle or run against this Tennessee Titans team. I don't know if you have a feeling on that because I know we've had some arguments as of late about the run game and how we should keep it going despite, despite the fact that it's not being as successful. Like we just talked about that last week.
And there's there's some elements of balance you have to throw in, but actually this is going to be one where I'm right alongside with you. Matter of fact, we haven't got to it yet. I'm going to throw in my X factor once we start breaking down the injuries in this game.
Okay.
Because I think that's well, how about, are we there yet? Are we talking the injuries, or we need to hit this point here?
Well, bear with me a moment, because if that's the case, let's just wrap this bad boy up talking about. I want to give Liam Cohen his last little bit of flowers, right? Because someone put out in those socials, and I'm sorry, I love to make sure I give folks credit, and I'll take a snippet of it and try to share it, but I just forgot where we saw it. But it's been a freaking weird season for the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? Like,
the NFL is drunk. What are you talking about?
That's fair. But since the bye week, the Jaguars' leading rusher in touchdowns is Trevor Lawrence. The starting quarterback has 9 touchdowns, which is 2 more touchdowns than the starting running back. The starting running back leads the team in receiving touchdowns, which is 2 more than your next best wide receiver, right? Like, that's crazy. Like, the fact that you got Parker Washington as your leading wide receiver with 760 yards. You got Travis Etienne with more receiving yards than De'Ami Brown somehow. Parker Washington, again, more receiving yards than BTJ and Travis Hunter, obviously because of injury. I put this out on the socials earlier this week. Like, all of that going on with 0,000-yard receivers, your leading receivers, probably your number 3 guy since the bye week. And somehow you're a 12-win team who's blown out 2 top AFC teams simply because they have no idea how to attack you. Because your primary strength you've shown has been various different things throughout each week. Like, one week is Parker Washington. Oh, it's Travis Etienne. Oh, if maybe that's not going to work, that's fine. Trevor Lawrence can run the ball. And then, or it's Brenton Strange. It's because there's not a 1,000-yard receiver. There's not a 2,000-yard running back. And even when you stop the running back on the ground, they're throwing the ball to these guys and getting them involved in that way. Liam Cohen in that way has been so dang good because now he has a freaking quarterback who's the NFL second leading quarterback in rushing touchdowns, and that's leveling the playing field in and of itself. So,
and I saw a stat somewhere. If he gets that 10th touchdown against the Titans here, he'll be the first quarterback in some period of time to have 25 plus and then 10 rushing touchdowns. Which
I like that. I didn't know that. I know he's been balling, obviously, with the number of touchdowns, top 3 in the league, but I did not know he was to that level. So that's interesting.
And I'll put it this way: the graphic you showed had John Matthew Stafford there with 42 touchdowns on the year. He's got Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua side by side. Okay, the point you mentioned is the gaggle of receivers who, by the way, throughout the year have dealt with injuries. Travis Hunter's still off the list, and he's still got 35. I think what we're seeing with that isn't a bug, but a feature of a successful rebuild. Right? Dudes are getting injured. The successful rebuild has depth. I just saw a comment here amongst the divers that I'm not going to find it right now, but whatever. The 8 different, I think it was Robert that said it, 8 different O-line rotations at this point, which I don't know that that's the correct number, but it makes sense if it were. To be honest, it might be even kind of low. I don't know. But yeah,
that's not bad. That's not wrong. Because again, people were pissed off at how often they were playing with the rotations and trying to play guys at all the spots and having real competition. But now they're loving it because they got guys who can play all these positions and the drop off isn't significant.
I wish in past seasons somebody had talked about this O-line being more physical.
Oh yeah. Somebody did. Somebody did. Just wanting the coaching staff, unfortunately.
Well, it was. They just didn't do it. Anyways,
but no. Oh, I don't think I mentioned earlier the Titans could be down 5 to 6 defensive backs. We were just talking about the receivers situation for Jacksonville because safety Amani Hooker missed Wednesday and Thursday with an ankle injury. Starting cornerback L'Jarius Sneed, their top 2 nickelbacks, Kevin Winston Jr., who was a safety, and Marcus Harris. They both are on IR, along with safety Xavier Woods. He's also on IR. So I'm like, dude, they're missing this many defensive backs. Even the guy who was struggling against the Jacksonville Jaguars in the first week, that was Kevin Winston Jr., he's on IR. So they're down to 3rd string guys. They got Eric Hallett, former Jacksonville Jaguar, who they signed to be a backup there just because they're just looking for guys. It feels like a team with the last week of the season. If you needed more evidence of why I say that's the path of least resistance for the Jacksonville Jaguars, this might just be the game, hey man. Just get the victory early, pass the ball, get out of there with the win, stay healthy, and make these dudes quit. Like, that's why I lean into the passing game over the ETN Tootin kind of conversation earlier on, if that makes sense.
Which my X factor is, shoot, Parker there somewhere.
Your X factor is Parker Washington. I got you. Okay. No. And then as our final key to the game, just before we get into these official predictions, man. Hey, man, see ball, get ball. You know what time this is? It's turnover time. Like, the Jacksonville Jaguars, they lead the NFL in points off turnovers while being second in the NFL in turnovers actually forced, right behind the Chicago Bears. I mean, they lead the NFL with 96 points off turnovers as it currently stands entering week 18. That's pretty awesome. So if you're doing a game-by-game scenario, the Jaguars are averaging 6 points per game off turnovers. That leads the NFL. But putting that into context, all right, let me say it in the right way. Putting that into context, the Jaguars are currently 6-3 in one-possession games in 2025. In those 6 wins, their average margin of victory is 4 points. And in 5 of those 6 wins, they either scored on the turnover for like the Kansas City pick 6, or the offense and special teams scored on the following possession. So all of that is me taking the long route to directly say the Jaguars defense has directly been the reason for 5 of those 6 one-score victories via those extra possessions. Like when I say see ball, get ball, I'm saying that, and the points is going to come. Does it make sense?
Surely, 1,000,000,000%. And here's an interesting concept too I want to throw out that Social Alky has in the comments. Brenton Strange is an X factor. I'll say this, and it actually allies to your previous point, Social, that if you're going to move the pocket, if you're going to boot Trevor, the significant part of that is having tight end involvement in either, well, I shouldn't say either, both protection on the outside and the edge if you roll out, and that safety valve should your primary options be removed from the play. So yeah, there's a world where Brenton Strange steps up big. I think that's a fine X factor. I still live with Parker Washington right now with that, because he'd be special teams too. But shoot, Parker, there's something,
Interesting. So like this is interesting. So that's your X factor. I have a weird X factor because the Jaguars didn't force an interception from Cam in the initial matchup. I mean, they still beat the team down, so it was a comfortable victory. But they also did force 2 fumbles in that game. And that may be one of the routes again versus this Titans skill group. So we'll see. They're third in the NFL with 11 fumbles lost. And they recently lost 2 fumbles against this Jacksonville Jaguars team. So it sounds like it could be another week of peanut punching in practice, or boxing as far as that's concerned. But my X factor, and I know I'm cheating, and I don't care. It's the last week of the regular season. I'm cheating a little bit. I'm going with the Jacksonville Jaguars secondary, all of them. not one of them.
How are you?
It ain't a player. That ain't an X factor. It's not a person. It's the group, all of them. Like, let's start with Antonio Johnson, if you don't mind.
That's not cheating.
All right, cool. So we're gonna start with Antonio Johnson then. Like, I don't think many folks have realized AJ is currently Pro Football Focus's 3rd best grade. He has 3rd best grade of an 84.4 of all NFL safeties entering week 18. He has 2 interceptions and 4 pass breakups in the last 3 games, and 4 interceptions on the season. And that's only with his snaps like recently increasing a little bit more, right? We already talked about Monteric Brown. We gave him his, love on Sunday's pod. But I didn't even know how good he had played last week. I told you, I knew he played great against Alec Pierce, but his overall stats per Pro Football Focus showed him the man having given up 11 total yards on 8 targets against the Colts on Sunday. That's ridiculous. A 1 point, whatever it is, 3, I don't know, yard per average per target. That's crazy. And I thought it was also weird because, or I can't even say weird, but you know what? I'm not even gonna say it. I'm gonna show y'all. Monteric Brown versus Alec Pierce was funny to watch. And I thought this was a really good job of just playing the quarterback you're facing, not really focusing on beating the receiver. Now, what do I mean by that? Like, as a DB, I saw too many Colts fans this week on the socials mentioning some version of the statement. Hey, man, Alec Pierce was open if only Rivers could get the ball to him, or he's wide open. That should have been a touchdown if it's any other quarterback, or whatever the phrase is. And I'm like, yeah, well, duh. Like, but the Jacksonville Jaguars secondary also knew, just as we discussed on last week's game preview, they looked at the film and they were like, dude, this dude not got the arm strength to drive the ball down the field past, let's say, 15 to 20 yards without floating it up there forever. They knew that. So they were sitting on all the routes. Like again, check out the long throw to Alec Pierce. If you look at Monteric Brown at the top of the screen, you see he knows what that first down marker is. He's not respecting anything past that first 10 yards, and that's why he runs past him. He does not respect Phillip Rivers' arm. He doesn't care about the fact that the receiver is better than him, or faster than him. And Jarian Jones on his interception did the same thing. And Correct. That was what I was like, okay, yeah. This is a situation where these guys are simply playing the sticks. So, I mean, hell, I just mentioned Jarian's interception. Let's just talk about Jarian's interception first off. Like shout out Gus Lowe, Duval.
Yeah, that was what I saw too. Exactly. Yeah.
The quotes let you know they were playing the man. Like Jarian Jones says Phillip Rivers can't really throw the ball downfield. Monteric Brown says make Phillip pass the ball. We knew he wasn't going deep. Josh Hines Allen says we kind of called it. Like they all basically in one way or another said exactly the same thing that the film showed us is.
That's my fault. I hit the wrong
Showed us
button.
exactly the same that this thing that we showed them is look at Jarian Jones at the top of that screen. He don't move a step. They are in zero coverage, guys. If you don't know what zero coverage is, that is man-on-man coverage with no safety help in the middle. Jarian Jones doesn't move a step. He doesn't back up. He is playing the sticks. He is trusting that this dude is not going to beat me. And you know what? He's right. That man ain't move a step back. He ain't scared of nothing deep. That's what I mean. So in the famous words of Harvey Specter,
break and collapsed. That's insane.
Yeah. Jarian's balling out of control. Though, shout out for Dan Griffins for putting all the great stuff on socials. If you guys haven't seen this stuff over at Action Sports Jazz, please go get that man a article. Click, even if you don't read it, just go and click the article, man, because that man he put some great work out there talking about Monteric Brown and Jarian Jones since week 14 having some insane completion percentage given up, which is 31.3% for Monteric and 40% for Jarian, just crazy. And yes, respectfully, the ball was tipped. What Social Alky puts out there, yep, Eric Murray did tip the ball, but I don't know if that matters. Like, I truly don't know that it matters on that play.
Because no matter what, there was no backpedal. So even if Murray doesn't tip it, I don't feel like he's backpedaling if that happens. He's
right. They're still playing it aggressively. Yeah, that's the point that I'm making. They are playing the like that's what Harvey Specter. What was the show called? I'm forgetting just that quickly.
Suits.
Yeah, he said, Suits. There you go. Don't play the odds, play the man. Like they played the coverages that was called, but they played them like they were playing a recently retired Phillip Rivers. That's what it came down to. They knew he was gonna struggle throwing the ball downfield and throwing the ball outside of the numbers. This week, I think they get 1 or 2 interceptions off of Cam Ward, and that's despite his box score showing a recent streak of clean play. Like he's only thrown 1 interception over the past 8 weeks. So why am I saying something crazy in these streets talking about Jaguars getting an interception or maybe even 2? Why am I sounding so crazy when they didn't get an interception off Cam Ward even the last time they played him? Because I look at the film and I look at the data, and I'm saying this. So Cam's been playing better, right? In his first 9 games, he still had 10 turnover-worthy plays, which is 2.7% of his attempts. He only had 1 drop interception. So opponents caught 6 of 10 turnover-worthy plays. That's what resulted in his 6 interceptions in those first 9 games. Since their bye week, over the last 7 games, he has 13 turnover-worthy plays, which is double his original rate in less games. So that's 3 more turnover-worthy throws in 3 less games and less pass attempts. Defenders just dropped the 5 interceptions. That's all that's happening. He's still making these passes. He's still throwing these balls into some dangerous spots on occasion, especially the longer he has in the pocket. They just dropping them. The Jaguars don't really drop interceptions. We've kind of religiously seen that for much of this season. If they get their hands on 1 or 2, I think they're going to walk away with 1 or 2. Jaguars walk away. Jaguars on top. I believe that they will come away with at least an interception this week. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, Sociality in the comments, there was somebody in there saying that some of these balls look like a Blake Bortles duck in there. That's where he was talking about the ball getting tipped. I don't think that was so much us criticizing you pointing out the ball was tipped, Social. I think it's more of a factor that we're closing in that they were just there. They weren't moving.
They were suffocating. They were breathing. They were doing what the Los Angeles Chargers did against the Jacksonville Jaguars in that playoff game in the first half, where they weren't respecting anything deep and just sitting on everything underneath and forcing the quarterback to beat them deep before they would back the coverage off. The Jaguars did the same thing, and I love to see some intelligent DB play from my perspective. That's my jam.
Yeah, and listen, both you and Social are right in this scenario. I think you both make great points. Preston says something interesting to me, at least. Cam is how they beat us. That's the only way. That's asking too much. He'll have to throw some dangerous hero type balls, which means if the Jags don't get interceptions, this will be a closer game than the dude all devout will find comfortable. I think that's a good point you mentioned there, Preston.
I think it's a fair point. I think he has to beat them in all the games. I would make the exact same argument for last week against the Saints for Cam. The only way they were going to win that game is if Cam took the team on his shoulders and did some amazing things. They lost the game. So I'm not saying that Cam can't do it. I'm saying it's highly unlikely, and that's how you win the game, is you make the quarterback do something that it seems to be, for the most part, not impossible, but highly unlikely.
Well, and
That's
I
how you're
think
going to win
this
most games.
further point is there's also going to be some fitty balls there, and the DB's got to win those.
That's it. And I think for the most part, we got most of the injuries. Earlier on, somebody did say something about Arden Key, though. I thought that was funny. The self-proclaimed mayor of Jacksonville. He might not play this week. I know he hasn't practiced this week yet. That we missed on Wednesday and Thursday. Van Jefferson, Gunnar Helm, the tight end for the Titans, they all missed Wednesday and Thursday for Tennessee. So we'll see what the Friday injury report shows. And the Jaguars still have that option to activate rookie linebacker Jalen McLeod from IR this week, or they could wait till maybe early next week because his practice window was open a few weeks ago. But overall, those are really all your injuries.
We'll see what happens with that. Yeah. But I mean, the tail of the tape for this week is very funny to me, man.
It's a weird game. I mean, it's a weird game. You got the Jaguars, who are 9th in the league and scoring 27 points a game. The Titans defense is averaging giving up 27.3 points a game, while the Jaguars offense averages 27.1 points per game. So basically, we got pretty much a guarantee the Jaguars should be scoring at least 27 points this game, because both the defense for the Titans and the Jaguars offense are telling you the same thing. More importantly, since the Jaguars' week 8 bye, Jacksonville has averaged 32 points a game. That was after averaging 21 per game over the first 7 games. The Titans average 17 points a game, while the Jaguars defense has held their last 5 opponents to under 21 points. So what's my phrase I say about the NFL defenses every year? I hope you remember it, but if you don't, I understand. If you hold the NFL offense to under 21 points, that is a winning performance. The Jacksonville Jaguars defense is doing exactly that. Like, they hold offenses to under 21 points per game. I think that's a winning performance for the year for the Jacksonville Jaguars defense, and I think they do it again this week. They're winning on both sides of the ball. They're 9th in the league in both scoring, and they're 9th in the league in points surrendered. This is what we got, man. Like, I feel like this tape and the stats and the roster and the injuries all kind of speak for themselves. I'm not going to believe at this point. And then we obviously have Kyle's favorite stats that he wanted to make sure he showed y'all on this bad boy.
I looked at this on Twitter and my mind was completely blown. First of all, the fact that my faithful are number 2 in the league is also crazy enough. But then the Jags have over 100 points, 119 point differential to lead the NFL. Right? I don't.
So they're beating the heck out of a lot of teams in these matchups that feel very similar to this matchup since week 11.
In this last third of the season, by the way. It's from weeks 11 to 17 for full context there. And by the way, Travis, you might notice that we don't see the Titans on there. They're so far down, we couldn't fit them in the bleeding graphic. So
yes, they are last in the league, and they're at the bottom of this chart. So unfortunately, they did not make the cut for how much space we had on the image to show it to you guys. So that's kind of how it's been going in Tennessee. We don't like them, so we don't feel bad for them. But yeah, that's kind of where that is.
What's the phrase? The bar is in hell? Anyway.
The bar is in hell, and they ain't make the cut. That's crazy. But I mean, you already know what this is. Like, the guys over at NFL.com, the analysts gave it a clean sweep, man. They think the Jacksonville Jaguars win this game, and why shouldn't they? With the top scorer being who is Gordon? I don't know who G. Gordon is.
I don't know who that is either, but
says the Jaguars will score 36 points.
It's the highest. Right, exactly. It's the highest score he has, the Jags, with 36. There's at least 2 analysts I'm looking at, 3. Actually, a lot of them have around a 50-point game, which is interesting because they're under the impression the Titans are going to score 20. I'm not, but you still get a 50-point game. Cam Little gets involved like he does. 33-17 is where I'm at. I don't see anybody else on here with a 33-17, but that's how I get to 50.
Nice. Yep, and I got this bad boy at 37-17 Jaguars. I mean, it's only 4 more points for the Jaguars than you had, so I'm pretty close.
I mean, you also have my basketball number in there, 54. Shouts to Horace Grant. But
So no, I think the Jaguars will win this thing have like easily walking away. I think again get those guys sitting down by the half, kind of protect the franchise, to walk away with no injuries or as few of those as possible, and again get the party started at Duval early because you got a few of these games coming up, at least another one. Hopefully, if you get lucky enough, maybe even two. And yeah, Cyclops says the Titans are winless in the division. Are they really? I mean, I guess it makes sense. They only got 3 wins on the season. I guess I just didn't realize none of them were against the AFC South teams. That's interesting.
One was the
Let's
Browns,
keep that going.
one was the Chiefs. So yeah, there you go. I got nothing for you.
That's funny. So for the most part, I mean, that's what we got, man. Like, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars win this bad boy. I do hope that they win it with the score that I'm predicting, because I mean, they have a 12 and a half point spread, and that definitely covers that and then some. I got them winning by 20. That's kind of where I'm looking at. But overall, I don't know if you have anything else you kind of wanted to cover. We kind of went around the world and back.
Yes.
But yeah, and Joshua says they won't score 10, and I'm saying, dang. Okay, I mean that's a take.
It's on the board. What do I have? Well, I did say 17, didn't I?
Oh, PT phone home. Preston says, "Is this the first big win blowout prediction for Travis this year?" No, actually. That's the funny part about this. This is the second blowout prediction, and I actually don't like these odds. So now you put me on the spot to say this out loud. The only other time that I have predicted a Jacksonville Jaguars blowout was against the Seattle Seahawks.
Whoops!
Don't like how that worked out.
Did you have a blowout the first Titans game? I feel like you had a dominant performance there.
I think I had I think I said I thought it was going to feel like a blowout, but then the Titans are going to make it look close at the end. Something like that. Like, scoring something that doesn't matter, but it makes the game look close, kind of thing. Whereas with the Seattle Seahawks, I legitimately thought the Jaguars had all the matchups, and they just played ridiculously bad on the margins. Those third downs, and Trevor Lawrence trying to scramble often instead of throwing the ball away, putting behind the sticks. That was the one game I criticized Trevor a lot, because I thought he was trying to do the Kansas City Chiefs game plan against Seattle, and then he said the same thing in his post game. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm not crazy here. He didn't see the field in the way that I thought. Like, it was a lot of going on that game, especially across the board with the receivers and everything else. So I think the Jaguars still today match up well against the Seattle Seahawks. They just had a weird game that I couldn't tell you exactly why they played the way they played. But nevertheless, I'm still standing on business. Jacksonville Jaguars, I believe, will win this week in a dominant fashion. I think they will cover that 12.5 point spread. And let's see if we're right, man. But I mean, where I can be found, and you can clown me if they do not. That's Travis D. Holmes on all the socials. BigCatCountry.com will have the write-up of covering any of the breaking news for the team, and also the write-up of following the game. Hopefully getting that party started, maybe even at halftime. We'll get bold enough and post the article at halftime. Jaguars blow out Titans. We'll see. But more importantly, if you are listening to the sound of my voice, please click that like button on the stream. Please rate and review us on all the socials, and keep this thing going, man, because we got playoff football to get ready for. And I do hope that you guys come ready with some great topics, because you guys keep this stream going. You keep this conversation going. This is a back and forth. But just let us know what you want to talk about, and let us know where you can be found, sir.
I find it interesting that this is the most I've seen Nick Mullins commented on in this particular thread as he comes in to do mop-up duty, which is why it'll be 33 instead of 37. I'm joking, of course. I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Check out my writings with the Black and Gold banneret covering UCF football and basketball. Check out my writing on the Scouting Depot covering the Cure Bowl and the Pop-Tarts Bowl, if you haven't checked those out yet. And also, I was on the subreddit for college football, the internet's tailgate, covering the Citrus Bowl. Arch Manning taking home player of the game with that one. I've never seen a Manning run 60 yards for a touchdown. Now I can claim that I did. Arch did that for me in that game. So there's that. Make sure you check out all those things at all the places. My coverage of the Orlando Magic as well. And of course, covering your Jacksonville Jaguars as they head to the playoffs here. We're guaranteed to have at least 2 more Duval Dive lives. That is the fact of the case. And I don't believe that's in dispute. So for all of you in there, let us be among the last to wish you a happy new year. And for my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, for all you Duval divers and Duval devout, thank you once again. This is Kyle Nash, student game. Until next time, everyone, class dismissed.